Well, there's been huge controversy in the UK about court orders called super injunctions. Sportsmen, businessmen and actors are all known to have taken them out to try to protect their private lives. But the law is a grey area, and a new report by senior judges seems to have done little to clear things up. Jonah Hull has the details.
The right to privacy versus freedom of expression. In Britain, the battle lines are drawn. In a society obsessed by the salacious details of celebrity lives, the injunction is often all that stands between the rich and powerful and a predatory press. There's growing disquiet about just where the public interest lies.
The trouble is we have two presses in Britain. We have a scandalous press who want to publish all sorts of sexual shenanigans, and then we have a responsible press. So this is all about responsible journalism and the law acting responsibly. And I think that the idea that there's some kind of conspiracy, that people are being prevented from knowing what they should know about a footballer's sex life is a complete and utter nonsense.
On Friday, senior judges presented a report following a year-long inquiry.
Where privacy and confidentiality are involved, a degree of secrecy is often necessary to do justice.
The government-commissioned report recommends that journalists be allowed to know when an injunction is being sought and possibly therefore to challenge it, even if they're still restricted from reporting it. But that's unlikely to be enough. This report comes at a time of unprecedented public interest in the issue of injunctions. In recent weeks, with social networking sites like Twitter openly flouting judicial gagging orders, we've heard from an A-list celebrity defending injunctions based on the right to privacy, from a top-flight broadcast journalist expressing his embarrassment at having obtained an injunction, and we've seen an injunction lifted to reveal a secret affair by one of the country's most prominent bankers. Injunctions aren't absolute. It was in Parliament that the alleged affair between former Royal Bank of Scotland boss Sir Fred Goodwin and a colleague at the part nationalised bank was first revealed by an MP using special parliamentary immunity. And the quest for privacy falls short on the internet, where the salacious detail of celebrity injunctions, not all of it correct, is hard to enforce. In the battle over injunctions, competing interests are many. Friday's report does little to balance them, ensuring the injunction debate will go on. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, London.
Well, I'm joined now by the media lawyer Danvers Baillieu. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Well, the report that the judges issued didn't really tackle the whole issue of social media and Twitter, but they dealt with it in a news conference. They seem to be saying that there would be ways found of dealing with things being revealed by Twitter. How do you think that would work?
Well, the likelihood is that Twitter may, and in fact there's a legal case that we've learnt of tonight, that one of the footballers has brought against Twitter. And the suspicion is that that case is being brought to get Twitter to reveal who's behind these accounts that have been tweeting all this information that should stay private. And
so that would be sort of pursuing, how would it work given that Twitter's based somewhere else?
Well, that's the challenge, I guess. But an application is going to be made in the High Court in London, or an application has been made, and then some assistance is going to have to be sought from the US courts to go and enforce that judgment against Twitter. Now, Twitter may take the view that it's an international company and it should be abiding by specific court orders that ask it to do something, and it may, of its own volition, reveal the information that is being sought.
I mean, how would that apply to sort of ordinary people who'd been on Twitter and might have retweeted or, reissued some of the information that was out there?
Well, it's a bad idea, basically, to be retweeting information that you know is covered by an injunction. I think it's unlikely that those individuals are going to be targeted by this footballer. But maybe some of the sort of more abusive accounts, there was one that was set up specifically to reveal details of these injunctions, and perhaps the person behind that account should be calling his lawyers tonight.
Did you think it was significant? It was interesting that they hadn't actually dealt with the issues of social media in the report. And what did you make of some of the words? I mean, Lord Judge saying that it's the misuse of, talking about the misuse of modern technology. Is it a misuse, or is it a sort of a fact of life these days?
Well, that's right. It is a fact of life, but we've got these new tools and we can misuse them. So, I mean, he's right in both ways. And I think people have to realise that just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
So what kind of measurements? He's also talked about, I'm not giving up on the possibility that people who in effect peddle lies about others through modern technology may one day be brought under control. And that sounds quite draconian, doesn't it? So what's he threatening there, do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously, if you breach a super injunction, you breach an injunction and you're in contempt of court. So there are penalties. You can be fined, you can be sent to prison for contempt of court. If, however, you're just passing on rumours that are untrue, they may be defamatory and you could be sued in defamation.
Because I suppose one of the other big issues in the UK has been the business of people using parliamentary privilege to be able to stand up in the House of Commons or Lords and say something and hope that then that gets reported. He also had stuff to say about that. What did you make of that?
Well, I'm right with him on that because there's an understanding, or there has been an understanding, that the legislature would back up the judges and wouldn't sort of deliberately flout that kind of injunction. I mean, what's going to happen next? The judge is going to start ignoring legislation passed by MPs because they don't like it. I think we need a bit of mutual respect to go on and things to get back into order.
So what do you think now with these super injunctions? Have we seen the end of those effectively now?
Well, I mean, there's been obviously this guidance about how they should be issued, and I think there's going to be much less of them in the future. But do remember there have only been 2 since the beginning, I think, of this year, or even January. I think it's been January this year they said there have only been 2. And reading the papers, you'd be forgiven to think that they were happening every day. But there aren't as many as it seems, and I don't think it's as an important legal issue as some people are making it out to be.
OK, Danvers, Baillieu, thank you very much indeed for your analysis there. Thank you.